Thanks very much for joining us, Tony. Now, social media has been one of those things that perhaps people don't necessarily associate with trading and indeed high frequency. But you're working on something at the moment which people have already dubbed FaceBörse. Discuss.
Well, the FaceBörse name is a real simple way of describing what we're trying to do. We're taking the principles of social networking and applying them to stock markets. What we're doing is saying, in social networks, you decide who your friends are and how you interact with them. So you can have a group of friends that you knew from school, or a group of friends from work, or you can be part of this group or that group, and you interact with them all in a different sort of way. Well, if you think about the stock market, there's all different types of investors, and there's all different types of orders that they want to trade. So a typical asset manager, he'll trade a lot of orders. 80% of his orders are probably going to be simple things he puts into an algo and then it's trade on the floor of the exchange. But if he's got this 20% of his order flow that is really big, he's taken a strategic position in a stock, he'll want to trade that differently. What he'll want to do is work out if anyone in his peer group is a seller of a stock he's trying to buy, so he'll want to interact with them. Traditionally, he'll call a broker and get them to do it. But now with technology, there's no reason why they can't all be connected in a group where they reach out first just to their peer group. Or they might reach out and say, I want to find somebody to make a proprietary bid on this block of stock I'm trying to buy or sell. So, excuse me, he can reach into that pool and try and get a block done that way. Or he can go into an auction market. There's a whole range of different things that a trader in the stock market can do by choosing how and where he's going to trade his block of stock.
So this is almost high-frequency communication, let alone high-frequency trading.
Well, it's actually the same as high frequency, except the opposite, because you're trying to trade a big block rather than cut it down into small blocks, and you want to be able to put the order out for a period of time to get a response back from the market. So what we're looking at is saying things like, okay, there's some interest in this stock. At 12 o'clock, we're going to hold an auction. So everybody who's interested in buying or selling this stock, come together at 12 o'clock, a bit like a fish market in Tokyo. 12 o'clock, they sell all the fish that's come in. We can do the same thing with stocks. Or they can go in and say, right, I'm just going to interact with this group of people, and then at the same time, they can say, okay, a little bit of it just goes out into the general market where everybody can interact.
It's interesting because a lot of people earlier today have been talking about how, not just high frequency, but how electronic trading to some degree is killing the personality side of it, and that isn't a good thing because now people aren't phoning each other, don't have their guys that they can talk to. Yeah, you don't know where your trade is going, you don't know who you're trading with, so really it makes it harder to do the kind of trading you want to do with your direction. But it sounds to me that it's like many people saying, funnily enough, about social media that haven't been brought up with it and don't use it. They see it as an end to conversation, but actually it seems to be an enabler of conversation for those that can't necessarily pick up a phone.
Absolutely. I mean, in its simplest form, if you think how the market works now, is a fund manager will give a broker an order and he'll put it into his own little crossing network. Well, that's like a fortress because he doesn't let any of his competitors into that, so the chance of him actually being able to trade that block is diminished because they don't communicate. So if you can come up with a system, and if you look at Liquidnet or ITG, they've got systems that connect to a lot of the buy side, but they don't connect to the sell side, so they're only interacting with half the market. What we're trying to do is create a system where the sell side can interact with each other on their terms. They can interact with, they can take an order from an institution and expose it to other institutions without worrying about high frequency or proprietary traders picking them off, so to speak.
In its simplest form, it almost sounds like what you're talking about is a financial version of Google Plus meets Twitter. This idea that you've got your circles, your individual groups, that you don't have to necessarily interlink any of them, and you can have people in multiple groups at once, and then you can fire short burst messages that say, I've got this, or I'm looking for this, or we're running this auction at this time. It's a really interesting concept.
Absolutely. You know, the system is open to everybody, but you pick which circle, so to speak, you want an order to interact with. So you can have a totally open system but the person has the choice that they used to have on telephone, who they interact with and who they don't interact with. And that should actually encourage people to be able to trade bigger blocks of stock.
So at this point in time, when can we expect this platform to drop?
Well, what's really cool about this is the guys that have developed the technology have been working on this for 5 or 6 years. And so the technology is built. We've got the management team largely together. We're starting to speak with the regulators. So we're looking to launch it at the end of this year, early next year. And what we're looking to do is launch simultaneously in the States, in Europe and in Asia. What we want this to be is a common global standard for the interaction between the buy side, the sell side, the professional long-term investors, and ultimately I think these principles can be applied to the retail market as well.
Well, given your own personal history, I have no doubt that that's something that I can imagine coming to fruition, and relatively quickly. If people want to keep an eye on it and see what's happening and be one of the first adopters of the platform, how can they keep tabs on you?
Well, we're in the process where we are actually talking to a lot of people on a confidential basis at present, because obviously the concept, the technology itself, we've applied for patents in America on the technology and how people can interact with all the different groups, because I think it's a game changer, the technology itself. So we're talking to the buy side, we're starting to talk to the sell side, we're talking with the regulators. So the key people in the market are starting to get some contact from us. And as we, once we get to the point where we feel we can go a little bit more public, then we'll make the splash. When we stood up at Trade Tech in Paris in 2006 and said we were going to develop what turned out to be Chi-X, we didn't know what its name was, we didn't know who was going to be on it, we just knew how the system was going to work, and we spent the 12 months in between that and launch exactly 1 year later, getting the people on board for a successful launch. We'll do the same thing again.
If that isn't a good sign, I don't know what is. So thank you very much for taking time to speak with us. And for you that do want to find out more, just keep your eye on the Trade Tech blog and on the Sky in general.
Cheers.